I hope that this answers the question. When his day is like a year, how long a period of time will that be? Oh, but I have given only one answer. Others have given many answers. But Imran Hosein has given only one answer. And I have said it's going to be a long period of time. I never said it's going to be 1,000 years. Others may say so, and they will defend their views. And they have the right to express their views. All I have said is going to be a long time. And then in a day which is like a month, and the United States replaces Britain, I have said it's going to be a shorter period of time. And then a day which is like a week, and my opinion, Israel replaces the United States, I said it's going to be a very short period of time. We can, of course, engage in plausible guesswork. But it's guesswork. And my guesswork is that Israel would rule the world as the third ruling state for maybe 20, 30 years. But would the world of Islam submit to Israel? Oh, the part-time Muslims, the ones who are so proud of being moderate Muslims, they will not stand up against Israel. But the true Ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam will never submit to Israel as a ruling state. No. We will oppose Israel and we will defend ourselves against Israel until the last Muslim stands on the face of the earth. We will never bow, we will never submit to Israel. Next question pertains to something that is a matter of very great importance in Pakistan. And there are many in Pakistan who are going to be listening to this session. Ghazwa is a war in which the Prophet ﷺ participated. Ghazwa. Otherwise, war is harb. For some reason which I cannot explain, there is this tendency to use the word Ghazwa for a war which will take place in Akhiru Zaman against a Hind. Hind is that entire area which today comprises India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, that is Hind. And there are ahadith, and I am not in a position to assess the authenticity of these ahadith. No. That a Muslim army will conquer Hind. A Muslim army fighting in Akhirul Zaman would have to be an army of mujahideen. I don't know, and perhaps you can help me and correct me, whether any armed force of any country in the world today, including the Pakistani armed forces, have ever described themselves or will ever describe themselves as mujahideen. Do please correct me, and do please send me the evidence that the head of the armed forces of Pakistan ever described his soldiers as mujahideen engaged in jihad. I don't think armed forces of secular nation states use that kind of a language. No. Secondly, the army which will conquer Hind, and today India, is Israel's most strategic ally in the world after the United States. So of course, if this is going to take place, I'll be very happy about it. Oh yes, this is Israel's most strategic ally. And if a Muslim army is going to conquer Hind, it'll have to be an army that is also opposed to Israel. Is the Pakistan armed forces like that? Correct me if I'm wrong. But since 9/11, it's almost 10 years now since 9/11. Since 9/11, the Zionist movement, the Judeo-Christian Zionist movement, which today controls the government of the United States and controls Britain and controls NATO, launched what they call the war on terror. And you and I know that the war on terror was actually war on Islam. The only people who don't know that are the governments and the people who control newspapers and television. But the rest of us know that war on terror was war on Islam. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that the Pakistan armed forces have actively supported the American war on terror for the last 10 years and have received handsome rewards in US dollars for that. Is this the armed force that is going to conquer India? I don't think people with even 5 rupees worth of intelligence would accept such a proposition. It is not my intention to be disrespectful at all to the soldiers, to the men in the armed forces of Pakistan. I'm sure that I probably have lots of fans amongst the armed forces in Pakistan. Those, however, who command strategic decision-making in the Pakistan armed forces and who control strategic decision-making in the government have for the longest while remained on the side of the Zionist movement. And so I say you have to be actually living in Disneyland to believe that the Pakistan armed forces are going to be the force that is going to conquer India. Excuse me for my language, Pakistani people, but that's nonsense. The next question, are you, Imran Hosein, are you a Shia? No, I'm not Shia. Are the Shia Muslims? My answer is yes. Only Muslims are allowed to perform the Hajj. And to the best of my understanding and knowledge, the Shias have consistently been allowed to perform the Hajj throughout the 1400 years of the history of this Ummah. I don't know if there were 1 or 2 moments where they were not allowed, but that's irrelevant. Because for 99% of the time, the Shia were performing the Hajj. And even to this day, the Shia are performing the Hajj. And therefore the ijma' of this Ummah is that the Shia are Muslims. And I think it's a little bit late now to come with a fatwa that the Shia are kuffar. I am not Shia, but I consider them to be Muslims. And I relate with all my Muslim brothers and sisters the way I ought to relate to them. If a Muslim brother or sister is on the path of error, then I must correct them. But I must not correct them with hatred in my heart. I must not correct them in a destructive way. I must correct them with love in my heart, and I must correct them in a constructive way. No, I'm not Shia, and I'm not Deobandi, and I am not Barelvi, and I am not Salafi, and I am not Tabligh Jamaat. I am not a part of this sectarian divide. And I don't want to be a part of that sectarianism. I abhor it. On the contrary, I am struggling to build a model of a Muslim village. Everybody knows that. And in this village, I want the Sufi and the Salafi to live together in the village as brothers. And so I am struggling for unity amongst Muslims. And I recognize governments can't unite the Muslims. No. I recognize that the only thing that you can unite the Muslims is the Quran and Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And so once we stay firmly with the Quran and with Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, I have confidence in my heart that we can live together despite our differences. There is a hadith about Dajjal. We're moving from subject to subject, not consistently, so it'll keep you awake. You won't fall asleep. There is a hadith that Dajjal will be followed by 70,000 Jews from Isfahan wearing their Persian shawls. You heard the hadith? Huh? Good, you're shaking your heads. My opinion on this hadith, and remember, when you find a hadith pertaining to Akhirul Zaman, and Imran Hosein does not touch on those ahadith, the implication is that he is not as yet comfortable that he has penetrated the hadith. There are some ahadith pertaining to Akhirul Zaman that you'll only understand after certain events unfold in the historical process. And so little by little I am moving forward, little by little, one step at a time. When I get a hadith that I believe I understand, I then offer my opinion. But I qualify. Do not accept my opinion, please, until you are convinced that it is correct. Dajjal will be followed by 70,000 Jews from Isfahan, wearing their Persian shawls. And so immediately I come to the conclusion that these will be Jews who will have Muslim names. Because they're coming from Isfahan. And they're dressed up as Iranians, Persians, not as Jews. So these will be a hidden force emerging out of Iran that will be supporting a Dajjal. Externally appearing to be Muslims, but internally supporters of Dajjal. And so I am anticipating now that there are going to be great changes in Iran. And through this talk I'm warning the Iranian government and the Iranian people that the attack is coming. Yes. Because I hold that the Iranian government is sincere in its opposition to the oppressors who now rule the world. You can have other views, but this is my view, that the Iranian government is sincere in its opposition to Israel. I reject the view that the Iranian government is insincere and they have some secret pact with Israel and they're just throwing dust in our eyes. No, Imran Hosein does not think like that. An Iranian government which is sincere in its opposition to Israel is not something that Dajjal will accept. No. He wants to use